That was...
Good things come to those who wait. Sorry, we got an amazing, you won't believe what's over here. It's like a TV station. I mean, it takes a while to set up, and we had a couple of glitches, but we're here. And this is our last...
We've been waiting patiently,
yeah,
actually.
Yeah, good thing we do all this meditation, because, yeah, I always say there's two main reasons why I do meditation. One is because you're going to be sitting there while people are setting up a Zoom call around you. You have to breathe and stay relaxed. And the second reason I practice yoga and meditation is because sooner or later it's going to be Christmas dinner. And you're going to be around all your family triggers, and you'll have to stay calm. So last week, Insiya, can you believe it?
Oh my God, last week. Whew.
Yeah.
A little crazy.
A little crazy. So I want to ask you something off the hop. Ashley's been talking to you, I know, before we started, and she's the moderator in the background. We have a more glamorous term than moderator. She's like the bliss facilitator. Anyway, she makes all this happen. And I want to ask you a couple of questions that we're going to come to in about 10 minutes, and that is, the wildcards have been such a fun part of this Blissology project. I'm not sure if everyone had an idea what these were about when we started, but we had 2 in the last few days. And so if anyone has any comments about either the wildcard about making dinner for somebody in your neighborhood, or writing a letter to somebody, just post them up in the comments now, and then actually you can find those and text them to us. All right, so I want to tell people about how to stay in touch, Vimeo stuff. We'll talk about that at the end, right?
We'll tell them about the end.
Yeah. So we want
just one thing we should mention is you're gonna get an email this week from us with all of the info that you need to kind of know how to stay in touch with the group, what other offerings there might be for you that you might be interested in, and also how we're making all the content available to you post the Blissology Project.
So just so you know, on February 1st, we're releasing the Vimeo on demand version of the Blissology Project videos, like the first Blissology Project 10 years ago. And we're going to give you guys in the course a code so you can get that free, so you can stream it or download it to your computer. Yeah, so...
But that code is really just for you. So it's, yeah.
Okay, we'll share that at the end.
Yeah.
Now, just to give you a little bit of the run of show, we love getting all these comments. We'll read just a couple of the comments. I mean, hasn't it been overwhelming, both in our Teachable platform and on our Facebook platform, just how many inspirational comments are just flooding us all day, and we'll talk to that in a second. So we just got a couple that we want to share. I pulled this one off this morning. I love it. Maybe Insiya can read this. And we'll show you the picture. I'll show you the picture ahead of time. Is too much glare in there? Let me see. There we go. Yeah. This is a tree in Union Square, New York City. So we had a conversation last week about, we brought it up about how, actually last couple of weeks, about how when people think they're practicing nature appreciation, they have to get out in the wilderness. But you are nature, as we talked about. And even in New York City, I talked to a lot of editors. I mentioned this the previous call as well, about the importance of nature appreciation. When I say editors, I mean like Elle magazine and beauty, and well, I don't know, I don't even remember all the famous beauty magazines and stuff that I don't read, Vogue, and
that he knows nothing about.
What is your beauty secret? I'm like, get outside in nature. I'm like, whoa, I never thought of that as far as beauty goes. And they ask, like, how do I get nature in New York City, here where I am, and on Fifth Avenue? And I'm like, well, Bella Meyer has just sent this in, and I'd love to read it to you. And just so you know too, it sounds like a strange goal, but we want you, I was thinking it should be a wild card to make friends with a tree. You don't have to hug it if that's too far for you. We're not going to push it that much, but by the way, you don't have to hug trees. Let the trees hug you. But really become friends with a tree. I think it's such an important part of being alive. I have a certain tree where I stand every morning when we do our surf check, and it's like a friend. And this is echoed in Bella's comments. And I think our ancestors had this relationship with nature and trees, and I think it's important. Okay, so thanks Bella for sharing this. Trees have always been a major source of energy and inspiration in my life. I looked at them endlessly when I was little and tried to draw and paint them. Less than 20 years ago, when going through a very difficult and painful time with my family, I was beckoned by a similar tree to stand below it. It showered me with magical strength and opened my heart to start hoping again. I continue to be blessed by the expanse of tree crowns, whether I'm in the forest or in the New York City streets. And then I met this majestic tree, an old witness of a long history of Union Square in Lower Manhattan. Despite its recent terrible bruise, it continues to be and grow. It continues to shine out its formidable inner beauty and filling us with its energy. I feel inspired by it, and I'm deeply grateful to all trees. So yeah, one more time, New York City, Union Square. I think everyone knows in New York is not a place where you generally think about for nature. There's a little bend in the tree, but thanks Bella for sharing that one and lighting everybody up with how beautiful nature is and what it does to us. It's a really great insight. Gratitude is our next one we want to share, so and see if you want to read Tatiana's comments about gratitude.
Oh, this is so sweet. And we have to wish her happy birthday.
Yeah, we picked this one because it's her birthday.
Yeah. 6 hours ago. My birthday is only tomorrow, but I'm already feeling its joy in full swing. My husband got me the most wonderful roses well in advance, so I can enjoy them even before my birthday. Good strategy, by the way. My son came to stay for 2 days and brought me my favorite champagne and flowers too.
Some high prawn food.
I am so lucky. So grateful to be surrounded by so much love.
Love it.
Yeah.
So show them the picture there. It's nice.
And she's
It's
just
a nice little bouquet.
little bouquet of her flowers, which I think is really sweet.
Yeah. Amazing. So I want to just talk about this because literally it's been a flood. I mean, there's been an avalanche of comments about people sharing how the 5 Blissology commitments, the yoga, meditation, nature appreciation, food awareness, and gratitude has changed them.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, we're a very talkative bunch, and I love this. And we're almost we might be at 3,000 comments by the end of the week. I don't know.
and that's not even including the
We're
Facebook
20,
ones.
yeah, exactly. With 27, almost 2,800 comments, which is amazing.
And
There's such a discussion.
and how do you feel when you read these?
Uplifted.
Uplifted, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah,
Really
uplifted is
happy.
another word of
Yeah.
another way of saying our tagline for the Blissology Project is the art of creating an upward spiral. And simply by making these comments, we feel good. By making these commitments, we feel good. So then, when we feel good, the next step is sharing good, and then that's the upward spiral we call it.
Mhm.
And I just want to talk about this upward spiral in relationship to a downward spiral. The word upward spiral I'm seeing trickling into lexicon a little bit, modern lexicon, but when we first came up with the Blissology Project, it was very seldomly used. But everyone knows what a downward spiral is. And it's amazing to me, in a Darwinian way, we're doing homeschool and we're teaching our son about evolution, Darwinism, all this stuff, like how society in a way doesn't want us to evolve. Like we're continuously, if you don't actually mindfully navigate through the current that's out there, in other words, that current is called the mainstream, you get pulled into this downward spiral. And look, my phone inundates me every day with bad news. And it's just been incredible to be filled with 2,700 comments about how good life is. And it's just small things, like my husband bought me flowers and my son brought me a bottle of champagne. It's beautiful. These small things make such a difference.
And to that point, it's not just my husband bought me flowers. It's also
That's your son, yeah.
Our son. It's
Yeah.
also I was having a really hard day, but then I went out and I looked at the sky, or I did this, or this is how I felt before the yoga, and this is how I felt after the yoga. And then in that doing, there was a switch in how you were feeling.
So we're not giving very good tools of how to process all the negative influences that we face all the time. And I tell this story a lot, but it was a really impactful thing for me years ago when we were teaching at Hollyhock, and which is a beautiful retreat center in British Columbia. And what happened there is there was a retreat happening with 16, 15, 14-year-olds from all around the world, and there were adults. And so they sat around in a circle, and the adults could ask the younger children questions, and it worked both ways. The children, or the teenagers, young teenagers, could ask adults questions. And I'll never forget the day we heard somebody say, the younger people were asking the older people, like, why does somebody come on every night and say, good evening? And then for the next 30 minutes, they actually explain why it's not a good evening.
Yeah.
And in Ayurveda, maybe Insiya can talk to you a little bit about this, but everything is food. Insiya will tell you this all the time. Like, when you ingest those thoughts into your body, that vibration, that energy, those feelings into your body, that becomes part of how we start to see ourselves and relate to the outer world. And back to our principal point, it brings us into this downward spiral. I'm not saying we should ignore things that aren't going right and work for the welfare of others in the world, but if we're only exposed to bad news and gossip and talking bad about people, then we get pulled in. And so it's been so heartening to be around people creating this upward spiral, talking about small things, what they're grateful for, what they saw in nature, how their practice lit them up. You want to talk about the everything is food thing?
Yeah, and to that, to follow up with that discussion, it's not just that everything impacts us, because it does, and this is a really sort of ancient teaching that does come from Ayurveda, but it's probably, you would probably find it, I think, in most native traditions all around the world, that we are products of our environment and we are not disassociated from our environment. So whatever happens in the outer world is actually impacting us. And in Ayurveda, we go super deep and we learn that all influences and all food, and by food I don't just mean the actual physical food that we've been cooking and eating this past month, but all thought impressions, all sensory food that comes in to us is also impacting us. And it's impacting us through our tissue systems right down to a cellular level. And the other thing I think about a lot is how differently I feel when I'm able to sort of create consciously almost like a filtration system, if you will, of knowing what to take in and also understanding what not to take in. So the practices of the yoga, the meditation, and the gratitude, the nature appreciation, the food awareness, what they're doing is they're helping us to almost create this filtration system that helps us to create a permeable barrier, a container around us that then allows us to take in what we need without taking in the other stuff, because we live in a time and an age where there is so much coming at us really, really, really fast, and it takes a lot more work right now in this time to understand how things are impacting us, to understand how noise, neon signs, constant social media, scrolling feeds, the news, and the collective anxiety that's kind of feeding our planet right now.
Well, let me jump in. That's a huge point you touched upon, and the real big word that Insiya said that really hit me was the word filter. So when we think about people who have no filter, we think about people who just speak their mind without their putting it through their cerebral cortex for processing, like, is this smart to say or wise to say?
Yeah.
It just comes out. And but no one really talks about how we need to filter for sensory data coming in. And that's important. I mean, it's such an important part of this. And even, it brings up the idea of boundaries as well, is what you're kind of talking about.
Absolutely.
One of my teachers in body mind centering has this idea of thinking about ourselves as cells, like cells in biology. And a cell isn't a boundary. A cell is fluid. It will let in what's nourishing to the cell. It will let in things that can bind on the receptors of that cell, and it won't let other things in, hopefully, when the cells work well. And that's our job as well, is to really become more like cells. So and the kind of litmus test is, what kind of energy do we have?
Yeah.
So again, we're so unplugged from how we feel, and so much of the Blissology Project and Blissology is plugging us back into feeling. All our comments about, like, I feel this way, and I could feel this way if I had changed this and this about my life, and this actually changed me. And most people aren't plugged in enough to feeling. They're plugged into doing, which is why, by the way, we say don't do yoga, feel yoga. And once you plug into feeling like that, that's where the healing really begins, and you can start to become a better filter of, I didn't filter this information, and it made me feel this downward spiral.
Yeah.
And actually, and I did this, and it brought me upwards.
Yeah, and what's that other word? When you just, you become a little more sensitive and more careful, if you will. What's the word I'm looking for? Discerning.
Discerning, yeah. Discerning's good.
Discernment.
Which is a great part of yoga, by the way. People think that yoga means being non-judgmental, but there's actually an important yogic word called viveka, which means discernment.
Yeah.
Right? It means discrimination, and we just need to be more discerning about what food we ingest. And I mean, we're meaning food in the larger sense that Insiya is talking about Ayurvedically.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to say one more thing about a filter. And that is, it's so funny, the way we use filters is actually, instead of making the changes to ourselves, mostly the way we use filters is the image we present to each other on social media. Can I filter how I'm looking to other people so I look better? Rather than kind of doing the hard work of actually filtering information so you're feeling healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe eating so that your skin glows.
Or eating
and
so your skin glows.
so that you, yeah.
It's so good. Anyway, so it's been great to put everything through this bliss filter and keep that upward spiral going. So thank you, everybody. And now we had a question. Actually, last week I didn't get a chance to talk about, and it was the AMA. I realized that there's a couple of unfinished business from last week, and we had a new Ask Me Anything this week, which had to do with shift work. But last week I realized I didn't answer it in the Zoom call, but someone asked, are you afraid of sharks when you go surfing? And the answer is yes, I am. But it's kind of like doing a handstand. What I always tell people when you do a handstand is, don't pretend you're not afraid. You just have to make the wahoo side of yourself bigger than the holy shit side, right? There's a side of you going, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. And there's a side that's like a kid in a park going, wahoo! And you got to make that side that's wahoo 51% and your holy shit side 49. And so it's kind of the same thing with sharks, although when we moved to Santa Cruz, just quick story, in California, there is a ton of great white sharks. They sent a helicopter up from the town, and just what they could see along the coast in a 20-minute helicopter ride, they found something like 8 to 9 great white sharks just close to shore where people are surfing. So there's definitely a lot of sharks around there. And I started surfing at this one place called 4 Mile, and about 2 weeks before my first time surfing there was a picture that came up on one of the websites where you can check the surf, and it had this professional surfer with a surfboard in half, 2 halves of a surfboard. Because a great white shark, they surprise you, and they come up like this, like a torpedo, and when something that's 20 feet and weighs that amount hits your board, it knocked him off his board and broke him in half, or broke the board in half, not him. Actually, he didn't even get eaten. They realized right away that it was not food. But that was on my mind. I'm like, oh my God, I'm surfing here. It's like, and if you think California is all sunny, it's foggy and dark, and everyone's black wetsuits and they're grumpy. It's like a Metallica concert, and and I'm like, every time there's kelp for us, and you're going through this kelp, and you're like, is that a shark? No, it's just my shadow. So I'm thinking about sharks. And this guy comes up to me, and he goes, hey. People, if you think surfers are really friendly, they can be, but there's a lot of alpha maleism, toxic masculinity in surfing as well. And this guy comes up to me and says, hey, I've never seen you here before. Where do you live? I'm like, I live in Santa Cruz. He's like, I've never seen you here before. You must have moved from Southern California. And I'm like, actually, we did kind of move from Southern California, but we're from Canada. So I'm like, I don't know if it's better to tell him I'm from Canada or Southern California. Like, either way, he didn't like my answer. And what happened was, I was like, my name's Ian, I'm just trying to be really nice and send off the good vibes. It's funny, our son got bullied the other day. I'm trying to teach him how to be around bullies. I'm just like standing my ground, but trying to be nice at the same time, but not being pushed over. I said, yeah, my name's Ian, nice to meet you, I hope to see you here. And he's like, my name's Dwayne. Don't ever cut me off or I'll punch you in the fucking face. I'm like, okay. That's what happens. And I'm like, okay, thanks, Dwayne. How it relates to sharks is, it's amazing how the mind works. The whole rest of the time I was surfing, I would never thought about sharks once. I just thought about Dwayne. Where's Dwayne? Where's Dwayne? Where's Dwayne? And I never, ever once thought about sharks. I was so preoccupied with where Dwayne was. And so that's a great way you can actually, it's amazing how the mind works of like, we're afraid of something, and then something else takes over and we become afraid of that. And, you know, we just need something to be afraid of, it seems, as humans. And or do we? I don't know. It seems to be, yeah, it brings up the upward-downward spiral idea of how we're always, the mind, if you haven't talked about it, when we introduced the Blissology Project, they say that the mind is like, and when I say this, Rick Hanson says this, he's a neuroscientist, he says the mind is like Teflon for good experiences and like velcro for negative experiences. So it's easy that the mind is guaranteed to always want to chew on bad things. I talked about it in another course, but I've never seen a course about how do I become more jealous? How do I become more of a more angry?
How do I complain more?
How do I complain more? Like, there's not these courses. There's only things to help stop us to do these things. We really, it's easy in the mainstream again to get pulled into that fact. I mean, that's how sharks can kind of bring us into that upward, downward thing. The other question we had was about shift work. So a couple people actually, Brad asked on our YouTube channel, who works thankfully at the police force, about shift work. And Jillian, I'm not sure what your job is, but you said that as you get older, it's harder and harder to do shift work. And so we want to address this because we know a lot of people do shift work, and it's very hard to stay balanced when you do shift work. And Insiya's got some suggestions.
Yeah, this is
Ayurvedically.
a big topic, and one way I think about it also is it's quite similar to that feeling you get during jet lag when you've been thrown out of your circadian rhythm, and now you're in this new place, and now you have to adjust to a new time of daylight and nighttime. So a really simple way of thinking about shift work, and there's lots of professions out there, especially right now too. I think people are working, if you're in the medical field, for example, you are always going to be a little bit off schedule with day and night, and what I hear is you use your off days to kind of try to get back into rhythm, and then you get thrown off rhythm again. And so the important thing to keep in mind is a tendency with shift work that kind of creates a lot of dissonance in ourselves, and that dissonance principle we call in Ayurveda vata. It's kind of like gets you more spacey and can make you a little more anxious and worried, things like that, and you don't feel grounded. And so your tendency, the thing you want to do to ground yourself is to eat heavy foods, and almost like, you know, something, if you eat like a burger or like a heavy stew or something like that. And I would actually say, don't do that, even though it feels like it's the right thing, because that's actually going to kind of put you out of balance even more. Instead, think about rest as being the most essential thing. So try to get yourself to sleep as early as you can, and then think about food next. So in other words, let your body rest a little bit. Let yourself move, because movement gets energy flowing in the body, and it helps you to kind of move and the old stuck energy out and get in new breath, new oxygen. We know this through yoga. So the first thing is rest, move, and then eat something that is nourishing but not too heavy. And then just try to, as much as possible, wake up as close to sunrise and sleep before 10 p.m. And just keep working towards that.
Once you've adjusted back to
Yeah, once you've adjusted, and also that's kind of your goal. Incrementally, you're trying to do that. And this will help to alleviate kind of more of the long-term effects. And this is also going to help you with jet lag once we begin traveling again at some point.
Yeah, actually, God, it's pretty much, I posted this on my social media too. I think, what's the date today? The 26th. It's actually my 1 year anniversary since I've been on a plane. Exactly today, actually. And it feels amazing. I mean, my way of relating to shift work is jet lag.
Yeah, totally.
And I hate jet lag. I know it's like when you got to go poo at 10 o'clock at night. It's just horrible to be out of your circadian rhythm. Circa, by the way, means about. Like when we say circa 1986, means about circadian a day. When you throw your circadian rhythm off, it's really hard to bring it back. One of my major tips that I do when I'm jet lagged, again relating my experience of how I heal myself from jet lag to what people were asking about how to deal with shift work, and that is to be around nature.
Yes, totally.
Like, it sounds weird and it sounds very hippie, but I honestly believe it's true that as soon as I get somewhere, I try and get into a park in bare feet.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, if it's in the winter, the bare feet thing, I'm not really going to do the Wim Hof thing, but just try and get somewhere outside of nature. Back to the early thing about the trees, I really feel that can help to reset us in so many ways.
Yeah.
A strong connection to nature helps. And I just want to say one more thing, and then we can move on. I just want to actually ask you a couple things about Ayurveda generally, about just waking up rhythms. But I just wanted to turn you on to a quick resource. I study anatomy and physiology for about an hour every day. I'm actually stoked. I just got accepted into a program at Harvard to study physiology. I'm super excited. But what I wanted to say is that there is an amazing series, if you're interested in kind of neurobiology and also about shift work in general. He does deal with this. He actually talks a lot about sleep. His name's Andrew Huberman, Dr. Andrew Huberman, based out of Stanford University in Palo Alto. And I'll post it in our show notes, a link to his latest podcast. And he talks a lot about how strategies biologically to deal with shift work. So rather than eating tons of our time, and he's an expert to really pass it off to him. So I want to ask Insiya, one thing he talks about as well is the importance for your melatonin.
Yes.
Basically, and your whole system, your whole circadian rhythm is based on light. And when you wake up, the importance of getting outside, back to nature connection again in a simple way, but to see that not just orange, golden light, but the blue as well. You want to take in lots of photons outside every day. And what this actually does to your brain, you cannot, what he talks about in Andrew Huberman is that you can't get it through glass, you can't get it from sunglasses when your eyes are behind sunglasses. You have to be outside and be in light. And as soon as you wake up and see light, your biological clock gets set for 12 to 16 hours later, that melatonin is going to start to kick in, which helps us sleep. Obviously, I think you know. But it's important, when I hear all this stuff, what I'm hearing him say is he's just putting science behind what they said in Ayurveda, thousands of years ago. Our teacher, Robert Svoboda, told us all the time, the best thing you can do for your health, one of them is to wake up in the morning, see golden light, or just the light. You want to talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing because it is this whole question of science and art, right? Science and spirituality as well, because if you think about most sacred traditions all around the world, again, I'm talking about ancient religions, sunrise and sunset, so dusk, dawn and dusk, have always been thought of as being these really sort of pivotal sacred times where you can connect with something higher than yourself. And I believe that the reason that this was really, said to be so important is because physiologically this was very beneficial to the human being.
Yeah.
And there is something that happens when we live more in rhythm and more in tune with the rhythm of day and night. And there have been now so many more studies that show, that talk about longevity, that talk about health, that talk about cholesterol levels, and just general well-being, that say, yes, if you wake up earlier and if you sleep closer to dusk, so you don't stay up super late at night, chances are you are going to live a longer, healthier life. You're going to have a lower BMI and things like that. And I just think that it's so interesting because we live in a time where we think that true freedom is this idea of doing whatever we want whenever we want. We have electricity, so we can stay up all night. We have computers, laptops, iPhones, and everything. And
can I leverage that with one more problem?
Yeah.
And that is, I was listening to my friend Zach Bush. If you don't know Zach Bush, you should. Who talks a lot about living in harmony with nature, how it affects your microbiome,
Totally.
all that stuff. And he just did a conference about your innate immune system. And he had a panel on, I just tuned in at the end because of the time difference, and so I don't even know, unfortunately, the doctor who was interviewing who said this, but he said any parting words, and this one doctor, again, I can't quote the name because I didn't catch it, she said, we just have to learn as a culture that we're not better than nature. Like we've kind of been, we've been ingrained with this thing of like, because we can control light and electricity and be up at all these times, we're somehow better than nature. Yeah. We can outsmart nature when it comes to growing food. Like we're constantly, are we trying to outsmart nature or work in harmony with nature? And the nature appreciation is basically like, you know when trees get cut down so a condo can get built or a parking lot, there's a kind of barometer inside your heart that's like, oh, vibrating low now. And we were meant to feel this, but we were brought into this mainstream culture again that's not treating us well. It's reverse Darwinianism. It's not survival of the fittest. If you buy into this mainstream thing, it's going to pull you in the wrong direction. That nature's here to serve us and we're smarter than that. So tied in with Insiya's comment about being able to do whatever we want, when we want, like those two together are such a perfect storm.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, big topic.
Big topic.
About it for a long, long time.
Yeah. So yeah, feel free to comment about that one in your comments because it's a huge one, and I hope you feel that this connection to nature is so important. I mean, to just take 10 minutes every day with no phone, to feel that rhythm, to feel that, I'll say it again, the human mind vibrates like this. Mm-hmm. We're stressed out all day, we're vibrating like this. The hormones we have in our body vibrate like this, and everyone has posted about nature, said, no, I feel more calm, and we want to make our energy like this. We're trying in Blissology to become better managers of energy, and when we're vibrating like this, we need to find that. And also, by the way, back to the shift work and being tired idea, when we're vibrating like this, which the yogis call tamasic, like flatlining, burnt out, what we do is we try and take substances that make us vibrate like this, but we need to find something that we call sattva in yoga and Ayurveda as well. Okay, so how are we doing for time? Comments.
Okay.
Let's see. Ashley had one come that she sent to us.
So hard to get my teenager
So
to
to
get
get
it
you.
earlier. Yeah,
Who's saying that?
I think it's Carol.
About getting your teenagers to bed early. Yeah, it's
And
super
up
important.
earlier. Yeah, that's another big topic. So Carol just put a comment on that about that it's hard to get teenagers to bed earlier. I'm gonna go out on a limb with this because I am actually somebody who believes that we have bought into this idea that teenagers need to be up late and wake up late. That this is something we've actually self-created as a culture, and I don't buy into it. And it's going to be an interesting. I'll share more about this when our son is a teenager. I know they need sleep, but again, it's that whole idea of working with circadian rhythms, and I'll let you know how the experiment goes.
Well, I think
Once we're in it.
I think it's like all of us. I mean, we're kind of like big teenagers ourselves in the sense that I get on my phone late. I tell myself every night, don't get on your phone, don't get on your laptop after 7 p.m., but I kind of do. And I kick myself all the time. We tell our son not to do that either, you know, so we're guilty of it as well in a weird kind of way. And I really think the way in, we just talked about it, is to get in touch with our feelings.
Yeah.
And what I mean by feeling is, again, how much energy do we have? And when I mean energy, I don't mean energy in a woo-woo sense, I mean actually physics, like the ability to do work.
Mm-hmm.
Like how much energy do we actually have? Are we drained or are we energized? And I'll just tell you a story. Here in Bali, I don't know if you know this, I actually have a motorbike, and it doesn't have a gas gauge on it. It's like a hipster motorbike. I'm an aging hipster. Anyway, and some of them don't even have speedometers. And there's a place that builds custom bikes, and we go there to eat. It's called Deus, and every year we take Lion there, and he sits on the motorbikes. And a number of years ago, he, when he was doing his vroom vroom, Dad, I love the motorbike. He looked down and he said, Dad, how come none of these have speedometers or gas gauges? And it hit me right then, this is our problem with modern living, that most of us, carbon-based life forms, have lost our gas gauges and our speedometers. We've actually lost the feedback from our body. We can take coffee and stimulate ourselves with bright lights, disconnect from nature, we got this, live from the neck up, and then we're not plugged into how we feel anymore. And that's the number one thing we've got to plug into, and I hope you feel this with the Blissology Project, that we're more plugged into our feelings so we can regulate towards where we want to go.
Yeah.
So to take that from the general to the specific, I mean, we don't have a teenager quite yet, but all I can do, and I know it's going to be, I know that teenagers got to try stuff on, they've got to touch the stove probably to find out that it's hot. We just have to lay it into our son as he becomes more of a teenager and that moves that direction to say, how do you feel when you stay up late? Like, what are you actually getting done? What are you losing in your day? How much time, like, how's this showing up for you? And what we have to do is that as he goes, no, I'm better than mom and dad. I know better than their wisdom that they've earned. That gradually he'll start pulling back and go like, oh yeah, actually I don't feel good and I'm not productive and I'm like not my best self. I mean, that's all, don't you think?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a trial and error conversation, and also hopefully my hope is that we can engage him in athletics and being outdoors early in the morning, which would then imply that he would have to sleep early to get
That's true too.
to do that in the morning.
That's true
And
too.
that's kind of how we try to live, so I'm hoping that will continue to flow
Yeah.
in that way.
Well, the getting moving in the morning is
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
You know, morning makes the day, you've heard that. But you also know that objects that are at rest tend to stay at rest, right? And yeah, when you get energy moving in the morning, it's super important. So yeah, some kind of yoga practice, some kind of movement, just try and do it. By the way, I put a whole bunch on this note of like even 5-minute practices up on YouTube. We'll get some indices up there soon. So look, we gotta start wrapping up. We're gonna finish with a little yoga, but I wanted to also talk to some housekeeping stuff. So
Yeah.
as we mentioned, we won't tell you what the code is yet, but make sure that you, if you're in the Blissology Project, that you have our email address in your contact list so we can send you the code. Because February 1st we'll have our Blissology Project videos. I can't wait to release them to the public, and they'll be high quality. And again, you can stream them or download them. They're amazing. So those are all ready to go. We'll send you the code for that. We're also going to, you want to talk about the code for the stuff in the shop?
Oh yeah, we're gonna do a 15% discount on everything Blissology for you guys, and that's going to be valid until February 14th.
Yeah.
So it's our little Bliss Love
Yeah, amazing. And
discount.
yeah, I don't know, I agree with everyone. Insiya said so many people are sad this morning in their comments that this is all ending. I mean, I don't mean to press that. I'm just saying it's bittersweet. We still have this week. We have another wild card coming to you. I want to do one more day of the make dinner for somebody or buy dinner for somebody. Again, some people are feeling a little bit shy about that. You don't have to see anybody. You can just in fact, actually with social distancing might be all you have to do. Like you can DoorDash, deliver here, we have Gojek, whatever, just deliver somebody a nice, it can be as simple as a pizza, or they'll hopefully get a high product food. We'll share with you also some of our other online courses coming up. We're going to put our 200-hour training, you're the first people to know about this, online as well.
Yeah.
So that's all coming up. Okay, so little yoga, and then we'll end with a little meditation. So as Bob Marley says, get up, stand up,
Yeah.
stand up for your yoga. Okay. So Insiya will start off with some yoga movement, talking about objects that are at rest tend to stay at rest, so we're going to get you moving. Yeah, I always said the camera's free. Jumping jacks. I find jumping jacks are so freaking good. My friend Bjorn taught me this. Insiya doesn't believe it as much. You're just
Why do it? There's just no room here. Or we're a little squished for room here. So if I go and
Her turn. Who wants to see Insiya do some jumping jacks? I'll watch. 7. That's only 3. Okay.
Okay. So find a spot on a mat or anywhere, and if you are close to a wall, that's great. If not, you can use somebody as a partner, but we're going to actually open up the front of the shoulder a little bit. So if you can put your hand on something a little higher and behind you.
I'm the wall today, I guess.
Yep.
Okay.
And then all you're going to do is exhale some breath out. And then use your fingertips to press into the wall or a human beside you or object. And then gently drop your lower ribs towards your belly and press your hand and open up the front of the
Open up in
ribs.
here, this area.
Yeah.
Chest.
And breathe. So make sure always that your heart stays expansive. And then shake it out.
I'm really missing out here. I feel like I'm back in grade school. Like how come
Other side.
how come I'm the plant in this play? All right.
Be a plant.
I'm a
And
plant in the play.
Other side, so whenever you're ready, take your right fingertips to your lower ribs onto the left side, and then almost cinch your ribs towards your belly, and then press your hand into the wall, the shoulder.
So she's saying don't bend your lower back, bring the
Yeah.
lower ribs down. Yeah.
And then breathe into your fullness. Try to breathe more into the back body too. And then exhale, release, shake it out. We'll do one more heart opener. You're going to take your hands onto your lower back. Drop your tailbone down as you press your hips forward. And then start to send your heart up towards the ceiling. So notice I never said bend back. Instead, what you're trying to do is create more space in the front body, more length.
Weight goes on the front of the feet.
Yeah, and then start to shift your weight more to the front of the feet. Knees are bent a little bit, or the legs can be more straight. If you want a little more, draw the elbows closer towards each other. Tuck your chin in towards your chest, or maybe let your head drop back. And exhale, release, bend your knees and fold all the way down towards the earth. So gentle forward fold. Knees are deeply bent. Hug your ribs towards your thighs, hold on to your elbows, and rock from side to side. Really simple. Stay in your breath. And see if you can count your breathing for a few breaths. Maybe about 4 or 5. Just follow the inhales and the exhales.
Right here, inhale, exhale.
Maybe rock your feet now forward and back a little bit. Drizzle your hands down and then take 3 breaths to come up. Let your chin tap into your chest, let the head be heavy. Pressing down through your feet, come all the way into standing. And just draw your hands to your heart for a moment.
Feels good.
So simple.
All right, so have a seat, sit up nice and tall, we'll close it out. It's Tuesday here, it's probably Monday where a lot of you all are, but on Tuesday we do our spiritual ATM. Kind of about energy. Do we have an energy body? I don't know, it was really funny for me to try and build this chi ball when we did that. I'm like, I don't know if people are going to feel this. But I do believe that when we feel more, we open up to the energy of our own bodies. When we slow down and feel more, we open up to the energy of our own bodies. We feel the energy of others, and again, we can be, those cells, those filters, to bring it full circle, that can absorb that energy or not. We can broadcast the energy we want. So we feel the energy of our own bodies, we feel the energy of others, and we feel the energy of nature. And that's like a big reason why I do yoga and meditation in the first place. Lastly, I just want to dedicate this to our friend Bill, who is going into a surgery to live a long and healthy life after he gets a little cancer removed. And I know we all have people in our lives, you as well, that are dealing with health issues. We all are. So we want to just send our energy out to those people for healing and to heal ourselves in the same process. So close your eyes, get tall. Let your tailbone drop, breathe out. And on that topic of feeling, again, what I always say is notice the difference between breathing and feeling your breath. Feel your breath as it comes in. Feel it as it leaves. Just notice how it makes this amazing shift to how we show up vibrationally in the world. And there's going to be places in the body that show up as too tight, lower back, jaw, whatever. It's like a guitar. You tune a guitar and you have notes that are too tight or too flat. Any tension anywhere goes out through an open mouth. So you're tuning that energetic guitar peg. And let your hands lift up. Drop your head and just be humble here in nature. You're in your apartment, I know. Maybe you're outside in the park. But we are nature, and we've been talking about this whole last month of the importance of this connection to nature. And I say it a lot, but nature is the greatest spiritual portal of all. So just bow your head to those big tree crowns in New York City or in your backyard. Breathe again into your organ system. So your meridian system, Chinese meridian system, into your kidneys. Into your belly, into your stomach. And then when you breathe in, let your hands start to expand wide. Just really feel you're pulling toffee apart in slow motion. And as you exhale, the hands come together, and you gotta make a sound. And just get lost in this for a couple of breaths. Just feel that our state of mind is in our hands. Last week we talked about receptivity, reciprocity. When we show up with more receptivity and more reciprocity with nature, how does this show up in our hand movements and our breath? And slowly start to bring the hands together. And just don't let the hands touch, just feel a little bit of heat between the palms. Pulse those in and out. And start to feel that bioelectric charge, that sense of light between the palms, our prana, our chi. Nodding to the ancient chi masters who taught us this tradition. And bring your hands slowly over the heart. Don't let them touch, just let your heart field grow wider. As the breath goes fuller, bring one hand over the belly, so as we digest our food, our thoughts, negative or positive, we can just let them integrate with us. Acceptance, equanimity, calm. And anywhere in your body where you need a little healing, just let the hands hover there, like a little mini Reiki session maybe. Work with nature, not against it. On that note, one more time, let your hands lift up, drop your head. And then bring the hands back over the heart. And we'll finish this way. Now is a pretty good time to ask a power greater than you for maximum health for your own self. Not much better time than now to breathe in light. Make it big. And any unhealthy thoughts, feelings, cleansing that you got to do goes out now through an open mouth. Like, let that snake out. Anyone in your life that needs help with healing anything, from loneliness to a disease, now thoughts go out. And then with the power of nature, kindness in your hands, turn your palms outwards. We say love transcends all distance. So broadcast a signal through your palms to all these fellow blissologists, humans. And just make your hands like radar setting off a signal. And receive it. blessings through your palms. Give and receive. And hands back over the heart. And we'll close it out. Maybe Insiya will grace us with an Om.
Exhale your breath out. And breathe into Om.
I needed that. I needed you. Amazing energy when we all get in the right frequency, even when we're in different little corners of the world, even different time zones. It's just so beautiful. All right. Happiness is best when shared, so thank you for sharing what's inside of you.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for being here. This has been a whole joyous month. We'll put up our new wild cards coming soon. We got some good ones.
And the recipes.
And the recipes. And again, we'll have the code, because again, on the 1st of February, we'll have our Blissology Project going live on Vimeo on demand. All right. So thank you for all your comments again. Thank you for everything that you have all brought. Let it ripple out. The ripple effect is real into your families, your community, and out into nature. Peace.